Yeah, thanks for coming to my talk. And I want to share the things that I did on Twitter, Facebook, Imager, and other social media platforms to promote our studio debut title. It's Everspace. It's a roguelike space shooter. And back in 2015, we did a Kickstarter campaign. We raised 420,000 euros on Kickstarter, but we also raised 250,000 euros on our webpage. And a lot of things that I did on the marketing side of things really helped to drive a lot of traffic to the Kickstarter page, but also to our website. And of course, you need to have a great product. But I just want to share a couple things that my daily job involves. So you're going to see like 52 slides. It's the worst presentation you've ever seen. It's just screenshots from my daily work, and I explain a couple of things here and there. So we reached out, or like we managed to have like close to 11,000 backers on Kickstarter. And I think this is the wrong talk. Interesting. Okay, I can do this. This is like the there are a lot of slides in there that are similar, but it's an older talk. We want to check that? Just we roll with it, and then maybe we stop at some point. So you see, we launched on early access later, and to drive a lot of traffic, we have been working a lot with influencers. And now I understand a lot of people wonder how you reach out to influencers, in particular if you don't have any relationship with them. And the thing is, when we pushed our Kickstarter, we had a first trailer of the game, showed some in-game graphics, and it was a very polished prototype that we showed already. And then quite a lot of influencers reached out to us and said, well, this looks great. I would like to show that on Twitch. And we were excited and said, well, this is fantastic, but the problem is we're not ready yet. So actually we turned them down, or like we put them on hold. We said, we will reach out to you once the game is good enough, and then we share it with you. And this was prior to our Kickstarter. And what I didn't expect is that this created a demand. So by not sending out keys, although we had a prototype in place already, actually we created a demand. And what happened is that these some of the those streamers actually backed us in our Kickstarter. So they paid 60 euros, at least 60 euros, to get the alpha version, to get the game earlier than anybody else. And this is something that's really important to understand. The game is most attractive for streamers when it's brand new. Ideally, when it's not even out yet, because nobody else can have it, so they have to buy themselves into the getting the access to the game. And so there's a combination. A, of course, you make some money, that's nice. But secondly, you only get those guys who are really interested in your genre. And there's a great chance they're really great at playing your game, which is super important, which is actually even more important. You swapping the slides? Well, this is, of course, one of my talks, but it's not the most recent one. I can roll with it. It's no stress. No worries. Search for the latest date. Maybe I made a mistake. Don't want to promise that everything was correct. I provided you. Is this okay? Right. We roll with it. I explain the rest. Sorry, guys. See, this happens every now and then. Okay, I can click forward to where we were. So these influencers, they backed our Kickstarter, and then those were, because Everspace is a space shooter, those were the guys who usually covered Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, like other space games. So we had a couple of these streamers who played our game, and when we sent out the closed alpha. So instead of like sending keys like prior to an early access on Steam, we had a closed, very limited, very exclusive closed alpha. And I didn't realize what Twitch is back in the day. It was like two years ago, and I was like, I checked it out, and I saw that people play games on the internet. Other people were watching. I was, seriously, is this a thing? But yes, it is a thing. And so I saw the chat on the right-hand side, and what's very important, or what really helped, was like, I visited every streamer and said, hey, the devs are here. Thanks for streaming Everspace. Ask me anything. And so you see on the right-hand side, you see the chat, and then there's this black bar, and it says Michael_RFG. So I deliberately took a name that everybody understands I'm a real person. So this is not a gamer tag. I don't know, Cosmos Blue something, or Headshot 39, like your typical streamer tags. So they understand I'm a representative of the studio. And they really appreciate that you join their channels, because this is very valuable time. They understand that you cannot be everywhere and that you really dedicate sometimes even your private time. So if things go up on the internet, on Twitch, if you have a lot of people stream your game, you don't watch movies, you don't watch Netflix, you don't spend time. You should spend time with your friends and your loved ones. But if you want to push your game, you just be on Twitch, you visit all the streams, you be there and interact with them. And by connecting with them, with these streamers, you build a relationship. And this is how you can make them continue streaming. And that's what we achieved. And so we have a couple more. We have DJ Knight. As you can see, he covers Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, and other space games. And he has about 43,000 followers. It's pretty big. And then we have another one, 45,000, Bad News Baron, also a famous sci-fi streamer. And they spend even more than €6. They spent, I think it was a mid-tier 250 or something, because then they could name a corporation in the game. And if you put in something into your game, be it on a Kickstarter or just generally say you have something that's available for streamers, it is something they're really interested, because then they become, or their community becomes a part of your game, and then they will promote it even more. Like if in that case they named a certain laser gun manufacturer after their community, and then they're super excited. They play the game, and then like by coincidence the weapon shows up and say, hey, this is our brand, we are there. And then the chat goes like, hey, awesome, we're in the game, that's fantastic. Those kind of things you really need. Now, to keep that momentum going, or like in general, talking with streamers and like connecting with your community, Twitter is very important. Twitter doesn't help you to reach a lot of people, but it helps you to reach to your multiplayers. And of course, if you start as a new studio or a new title, you don't have a lot of Twitter followers. And what you can do, you follow other bigger Twitter handles, like everything that's connected with indie game dev communities. You search for indie game dev, and any big Twitter handle you follow, and then they might follow you back. But at least you use that. What I can recommend is Project MQ. Are you familiar with Project MQ? Anybody, by any chance? Okay, well, good one. Yeah, you listened to my talk before. That's kind of cheating. So Project MQ is not a very big site. They have about 33,000 followers. It's like a screenshot from 2 years ago, but they're super active. And what we did is we worked with them on Steam key giveaways. So every Wednesday and every Friday, they have a key giveaway, and they have trivia questions. So it's like, in our case, it would be, how many player ships are there in Everspace? And the answer is 3. Now, I could tweet this and just have the text, but to make this a little bit more interesting, a little bit more engaging, we used one of our streamers here and promoted him. So I read it out. Win a Steam key. Who likes the flag cannon in the clip? Answer RT for retweet. Follow us and Project MQ, and then hashtag Unreal Engine 4, GameDev, IndieDev. So you can see there's like 65 replies, 65 retweets, and then I took a clip from a streamer when he used that flag cannon and put that on our YouTube channel. So I reused content from that stream, put it on our YouTube channel, gave him some exposure, and by that we had a very good trivia question coming up, but we also used somebody else saying the game is great or something he likes. So let's take a look how that went.
All right, well, let's give the flat cannon a try, shall we? Wow! Wow! Ho, ho, ho! I like that.
does. So the video is a bit smoother if you see it directly on the computer, but you can imagine that this is so much more powerful to have a video clip from a popular streamer. He's like 300,000 followers, and then what happens if you include them and that he's aware that you're using content and also drive traffic back to his channel, it's appreciation of what he does or what he did for you, but also increases the chance that that YouTuber or that streamer continues to cover your game. So, of course, not everybody gets Wild Tangent or the big guys. Here's another example how we work with a smaller streamer. So Void Fox is a great streamer who just streams on Friday afternoon, Canada time zone. So it really is like the evening. The Friday evening in Europe is a perfect timing. Like this is when you hit the most of the potential users, like during the day, the afternoon in America, but in the evening hours in Europe. So this is really your sweet spot. That was ideal. Okay, nothing that I could influence, but that's why it worked. He has like 1,200 followers. It's not that big, but he's very good at playing the game. He fully understands the mechanics. Everspace is a pretty tough game. It's a roguelike shooter in space, so not everybody's really good at playing the game. And he's super funny. He's very entertaining. He's really great to watch, and he's one of those guys that made me understand why Twitch is a thing, why people watch other people playing games instead of playing them themselves, at least to a certain degree. And what we did is like, so I had him there streaming. I watched his streams. I was in the chat and said, "Hey, thanks for streaming. Fantastic. Ask me anything." And by the time I already gave keys to other bigger streamers, and by providing keys for the raffles, you encourage them that they keep streaming. And with this guy, the problem was we only had well, at least we had like 37 people watching, which is great for him. But generally, it was much less. So what you can do is like you have a streamer who's very good at playing your game. You provide keys, who's good at make key raffles and event, and it's really pushed it. You push the whole thing. So while he is streaming, you be on Twitter at the same time. So you take a screenshot, and then you come up with this live button, RT to unlock free key giveaway, and then Twitch Void Fox, that's the address, obviously, sci-fi space game, the best keyword for our game, indie dev, Unreal Engine 4, and then Twitch sharing. Twitch sharing is the Twitter handle that has the highest number of followers, and they retweet you if there is something meaningful. And of course, a free key giveaway is always a meaningful thing. So as you can see, we got a lot of retweets, like 42 for this. This was not through Project MQ. This was simply by him and us, in that case me, pushing his stream, excuse me, and having that key raffle. Now on to our biggest achievement in terms of working with streamers. Carnage, back in the day, back in the day he had like 880,000 followers. Now he's beyond 900,000. He's one of the top 20 streamers. He's also one of our Kickstarter backers, and I didn't even know, because he had a different email address. And of course, if you have 11,000 backers, of course you don't know every address. But he was also some of the guys who pledged on a higher tier, so he could name something in the game. So he was streaming. I was super excited because, well, if somebody like Carnage streams your game, at least 2 years ago it was the case. In the morning he played PUBG with like up to 15,000 people watching PUBG, and then he said, "Hey, how about some Everspace?" Now it's an indie game from a small studio in Germany. I guess he even said that it's Everspace, nothing else. Like, I don't mind as long as we are on. And he streamed quite a lot. He really liked the game, and every time he streamed, we were on the front page of Twitch simply because of him, because he drove so much traffic, he drew so many viewers, because they watched him playing PUBG. It was super popular back then, and I was like, oh, we need to keep this guy streaming. And I provided more than just one key. So what I did is like, I said, "Hey, the devs are here. Thanks for streaming. Ask me anything." He ignored me. He didn't see that, because the chat went like this. If you have somebody with so many viewers, it's very hard to reach out. But you keep going, you keep pushing, and then at some point, some of his moderators said, hey, can we help you? And then he whispered to me. So this is a different, in case you're not familiar, you can have a direct message on Twitch. And he said, hey, this is fantastic. You can have keys if you want. And you can have as many keys as you want. So with the others, I had like 1 key per day. And in the end, we gave keys for a raffle every 30 minutes because there are so many people watching. And if you compare the media value that this creates, is absolutely worthwhile to give him a key every 30 minutes. So this is one thing. And then I took a moment, again, I captured a iconic moment in those streams. And what's important here, again, you need to do this when it happens. The moment the magic is gone, like the next day or even like a couple hours beyond later, it needs to happen right now because it's all connected. What you see on Twitch, if you tweet about it, then the streamer gets notified that you just tweeted, then he talks to his community, oh, you have to retweet this, that was awesome. And as you can see, it really worked out. We had like 40,000 impressions. And to give you an idea what this moment was, let's have a look.
Mines have flickering lights so you can see them. Can it be any more obvious?
That was rude. That was rude. I'm sorry, bot, but that was not cool. That was pretty rude. Can it be any more obvious?
So when that happened, for a slight moment, I was really concerned. I said, oh, now he's pissed. He's going to rage quit. That's it. He's never going to play the game again. Luckily, he saw the humor in it because you die a lot in Everspace. It's a roguelike, and you have an onboard AI. And if you die, it's almost always it's your fault. And the AI will tell you. So you're like an idiot. You flew into a mine that's like a flickering light. I mean, how much more obvious should we make? You're going to die if you do this, and that's what happened, right? And he thought it's funny. I thought it's funny. I posted it on Twitter. Everybody else thought it's funny too. And again, this is these kind of things, these moments help you to be on the front page of Twitch, which is with Fortnite now it's much harder. So 11,000 live viewers won't get you on the front page anymore, but you get the idea how strong these moments are, and you really have to take advantage of these things when they happen.
So this is Alec.
Okay, it's a bit mixed now. Here's the next thing. After that,
I can't rotate the camera, I don't think. But
yes, you can. You just have to push the right button.
So cool.
That's the next thing that we did.
So cool. Okay, thank you again to the devs.
My pleasure.
Pretty amazing. All right, let's do it. Boop.
So he's still excited. He's still not done yet, and so we reached.
I can't get over how cool that is. I'm sorry. I can't help it.
Yeah. So I reached out to him and said, hey, this is fantastic. He played Everspace for like 5 days straight, and of course at some point he lost interest and it didn't go on. But we were working on an expansion, and I thought what could be a good way to get Co back into the game, or like actually literally back into the game and play the game and stream it on Twitch. And I said, hey, how about we will have a sub-faction of the Outlaws. We need to have a name, and how about we take your logo and we just named him after your community. So, and then instead of just having this in text form, we made a little mock-up with the spaceship with his logo, and he loved the idea. Now, those are things that it's very unlikely that a big publisher would do that, because it would involve like the legal guys make sure that you have the full right to the logo of the streamer, because he could pull it back at any time. So as an indie dev, you can do this. It's kind of risky, but it's very unlikely, unless you screw up, that the streamer says, well, I don't want this anymore. So this is not going to happen. And again, this is something that we just did for him, and that brought him back into the game and playing the expansion for another 2 days. So, and to give you an example, somebody like Co Carnage in these ranges costs a couple $1,000 per streaming hour if you would pay him or somebody else to do this. So it's really worthwhile doing this. With YouTubers, it's a little bit different. So on Twitch is really about, well, getting establishing the relationship and keep them going and provide them additional content. YouTubers is more like a one thing and then that's it. We were super excited to get Dragast covering Everspace. So he did a great Let's Play. So he has like 1.3 million subscribers, which is great. And I read it out. It's like 280,000 views for the first Everspace Let's Play. We're like, whoa, that's fantastic. And he says part 2. So obviously there's going to be a part 1, sorry. And there's going to be another one. And the second best Let's Play he did after that clocked only 80,000 views. Still great, but you can see there's a significant drop off. And there is nothing you can do about it. It's always the same, which at some point they just stop covering you. And yeah, the question is, what can you do? So the big guys you would have to pay, and most likely none in the room would have the budget to do it. And which at some point you just need to realize it's better to work, or like in the long term, there's a way to work again with the specialized streamers or YouTubers in this case. So Obsidian Ant, he has only 100,000 followers, still big, but not like a million, so like just 10%. But he is specialized in sci-fi games, and he made like 12 videos of Everspace, and each video had like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 views. So because he's specialized, he has a core audience, and keeps going, you have enough views. And to keep him going, it makes sense. He really appreciates every time there is a Let's Play coming up, you use your Twitter channel and then you say, hey, veteran sci-fi space pilot Obsidian Ant, checking out the new DLC, and then you have the link. So again, you send traffic to his site. Of course, he sees that. Maybe this is like retweeted 5 times. So maybe we drove, I don't know, 20 viewers to his channel. That's not the thing. The point is that you show, oh, I saw that, and I play back the favor, and I bring some traffic to your channel. He appreciates it. And now we even have, Obsidian Ant is going to make a raffle, and we gave him like 10 keys of Everspace, the base game, so he can have that for his community. And this is how it works. So it's not a one-way direction working with influencers. It's a two-way street, and you have to make sure that you also play back the favor. Now, what also can happen is like you get a very negative view on things from a YouTuber. In this case, Cynical Brit. Excuse me. Rest in peace. So he passed away a couple of months ago. We were super excited to have him cover Everspace, and the initial video clocked 300,000 views. That was fantastic, but he didn't like the game at all. So it's basically, what the fuck is Everspace? And he didn't like it. He missed a couple points. And now the thing is, even if the YouTuber is wrong and misses points, it's very dangerous. It's a slippery slope if you go in there and tell him or correct him, because you will have, or he or she will have his or her big fans, and if it's better to have your community act on your behalf and like correct him and say, well, maybe you missed this in the tutorial, or a certain game mechanic you're missing, it's later in the game, those kind of things. It's better to have hands off instead of like jumping on there and say, hey, you missed that and it's in the game and your review sucks. That's not a good idea. Actually, it went even on to our community hub on Steam. And obviously, this is where our community stepped in and really pushed for us and said, well, okay, these things are like a lot of things that you are criticizing. Actually, there are in the game, or there are meant to be. It's a game design decision. And this is also how the internet works. If you have a discussion where you have like two parties really kind of fighting over argument, this is exactly what you want. You don't want to have a conversation where everybody agrees, because then there's no conversation. So you always need to have the other side as well. And that also brings me to trolls. So sometimes, in particular in talks or advice about community management, don't feed the trolls. Yes, if you want to shut them down, this is actually the only way, is like not feeding them. But the marketing person is like, give me more trolls, feed the trolls. Because in many cases, it's like what they complain about, they either haven't thought it through, so basically it's a stupid question, and then it's the question how you deal with it. Perfect example, in Everspace, there's no sound in space. I stopped counting how many times I got to say, and then there are many questions or many ways to answer that. You could say, well, you must be fun at parties. Well, it's like, thanks, Captain Obvious. We know Do you really think we don't know there's no sound in space? A better way is like, "Psst, don't tell George Lucas, right? So because Star Wars, he decided, and then everybody knows, okay, fun, haha, and then maybe you turn him into a fan. Or people just want to be mean and are very aggressive to get their attention on the internet, and then your community will step in and fix it. So actually trolls are good because they drive the conversation traffic, and this is also how channels like Reddit, meanwhile even Facebook works. So the more conversation is going on, the better. Coming to Facebook, we tried to do marketing on Facebook during Kickstarter, and it didn't work at all. So we had like, hey, we're on Kickstarter, and I targeted to like the right audience in terms of like age, gender, countries, and even interest. That didn't fly. But it's something else that caught my attention. Again, Void Fox, this great small streamer from Canada, he is using our action freeze, which is a photo mode. So we had photo mode before photo mode became a thing in Horizon Zero Dawn and other popular games. In the beginning, in my previous studio, we used it as an internal tool to check if the graphics, if the models are right. So in Everspace, you can freeze the action, hence action freeze. And then you can orbit the camera, take a screenshot, and you're done. And since this is a roguelike, everything is procedurally generated. Every time the screenshot is unique. And since we have good mechanics or like good methods how to combine hand-drawn assets, it pretty much always looks good. At least this is what the streamer said. So I read it out. This is the Z key. That's the action key, action freeze. The Z key in Everspace game should be renamed to wallpaper generator. Now you could say, is this a good thing if somebody says about your game it's a wallpaper generator? Maybe not, which started a discussion like, fine, fuel it, we keep the discussion going. But I said, this is interesting. They got like 10 retweets, and then I thought, okay, what happens if I tried it myself? And instead of like deciding what the best screenshots are myself, I just went to our community hub, went to the screenshot section, and searched for most popular. Because you, the community, already decided what our best screenshots are. So it's idiot-proof. So even I could pick the screenshots because you already picked them. And then I put 4 screenshots together and just took care that we have like complementary colors, that we have different motifs. So there's a good variety. And this one clocked 27,000 impressions, and I read it out. I kind of stole his teaser and mixed it with our with our headline, a new breed of space game. Some call it wallpaper generator. More on, and then I linked to our community page where the screenshots were, not directly to the store page, so everybody can see it. Excuse me. That this is not a fake. So that went pretty nice for us. And then I took the same thing on our Everspace Facebook channel. Same text, same screenshots, and it's a bit small for you guys to see, but it went really, it was really successful. I have to admit, we put some money behind this, but spending 10,000 euros and getting 1.3 million people with, what is it, 174,000 clicks, photo clicks, and more than 13,000 clicks that directly went to the Steam store page is one of the best campaigns we've ever had. Now I understand not every indie dev has like 10,000 to spend, but even if you hadn't had the 10,000, still those things go viral. And the way you do this is, so you take the 4 screenshots, because 4 is the best. We found out it's the best combination because you have 1 big screenshot and then you have 3 below. So you have a good variety of screenshots, but there are also 4 things that people can click on, can like, and obviously the more likes you get, the more is Facebook pushing you. And what worked wonders was adding interest. So not only the age, the gender, and the territory, like the countries. I put in every sci-fi game into the interest group, and that really helped us to focus that boost. And you can't read it out for you. It's like 9.2 million people is the audience for that post. So while this was good targeting, it also told us, and until then I had no clue how big our market is. So even if you don't have budget to run a campaign like that, it makes sense you send up this targeting, so it tells you even before you do the first click for your game, do this on Facebook and put in like your competing titles, peer group titles, whatever, and you have a rough idea how large your audience is. So it's the best way to analyze, to do some market research. And once this is out, what you should do, the two things are really important. It's the relevance score and the frequency. So the relevance score tells you how popular or how positive one of your posts is. So it goes from 1 to 10. Obviously, 9 is good. And this is a category that doesn't show up unless you click on columns, go to custom, you kill one of the other columns and put it in. So you have to go in there and manually add it. And typically is, obviously 9 is very good. And I did a few more of these community posts with the screenshots. I did a couple times and it always went up to somewhere between 7 and 9. It always worked. It always had to reach more than 1 million views with, I don't know, 10,000 clicks on it. So really, it's not a coincidence. It's definitely something that works. But what's super important, once you put money behind it, you have to be careful that the post doesn't get shown too often, because if it's more than shown twice to users, they're gonna vote you down, because that's like, they feel it's like spam, because they still consider Facebook being their private page. They just hate it. And then you lose momentum. You're spending money, sending it out your message to people who just say, no, I've seen it twice, it's enough. I don't want to see it anymore, go away. And it's very interesting. I see a lot of ads, so I keep all these ads running from competitors, and because I want to see what other people do. I get ads from like other games like 30 times, and I'm like, do you really think after 30 times I'm still buying that game? And I'm just curious, what are they doing? And this is the best way to burn your budget on Facebook if you don't keep an eye on this frequency. The way I do it, like to get an idea if this is something worthwhile or not, is so you put your post together. We can go back. So again, some call it wallpaper generator. The hashtags are not a thing on Facebook, but it helps to emphasize what this post is all about. So I still use some hashtags in there. On Instagram, it is a thing, but we're not on Instagram. Long story short, it was just one more channel too many for me to manage, so that's why we're focusing on Facebook. So I put this together. I post it, and here's one thing that's super important. You can target even your initial post, but you should not, because you can target age, gender, and country. But if this has legs, and then you put money behind it, you cannot add interests anymore, which is way more important than anything else. That's something that even Facebook didn't know. So I wasn't called with Facebook, because they called me after we spent like 30K on Facebook. Hey, your ads are pretty successful. How do you do that? Because you do it differently than we usually advise it to do. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, for once, I don't target at the beginning. I target at the end, like right before I spend the money. And yeah, this is really important. And the best way to do it is like you send it out and you see what happens. You see the comments. Maybe you need to change the text a little bit. And once that's successful, then you share your own post to indie game groups like Indie Game Promo. There are a couple groups will have a lot of followers. Then it gets even more traction. And then if Facebook sends you a message, hey, this post works better than your average post, like 75% better, 85, 90%, then you should put some money behind it. Even if you don't have a lot of money, say, well, you only can afford like $50 to see what happens, you should do it. To learn the mechanics, to see and to optimize the age window. So I started with like from 14 to 65 to see what's going on, and I ended up narrowing it down from 25 to 45. And I don't have proof for that. I just assume if you're younger than 25, you play multiplayer games, and Everspace is a single player game. And if you're older than 45, Everspace is too intense, then you're more a guy, somebody who would appreciate a space simulation with a smaller gameplay. So you have to find out by using some budget which targeting works best for you. And then you can take it from there. So we still have 15 minutes left, is that right? 5. Oops. Okay. Well then, spot on. I say. Well then, I guess some questions to the floor. Yeah. You good? Unless you don't have. Go. Say that. Didn't get that.
I will give you a microphone, okay?
Why did you use the cost per engagement instead of cost per click?
For the campaign.
Yeah, for campaign.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Good question. Because I wanted to have as much visibility as possible. If you have a cost per click campaign, again, I don't have the proof. It's all about the clicks. Whereas engagement is like, I wanted to have momentum. I wanted to have people engage, like either click, like, or comment on it, because then I can use it. I answer every question on Facebook and also on every other channel. And I answer it as fast as possible. Because the way the algorithm works, the sooner you answer something, the more value it has. It's the same with Reddit and Imager. Like a click, like an upvote that's like happening now is like 10 times stronger as if it happens like an hour later or the next day it's gone. There's no value anymore. That's why I had an engagement campaign. It's also a question that Facebook came out. Why we're using engagement instead of cost per click. I'd say if the game is out and you have your audience already, then you maybe go into cost per click. But once, while you're still in, like, you want to grow your community, its engagement is more important than clicks. That was more about branding. And of course, Facebook is so attractive because if you have followers, most likely they see your next brand, which is why it's so attractive to advertise on Facebook. It's not just like a one go, like an ad online somewhere. You create followers. So at the beginning we had like 3,000 followers. Now we have like 32,000, and mainly because of these ads. One more. Really? Online marketing? Come on.
Okay, thank you. So you said you were focusing on Facebook mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried, but you also mentioned that like Reddit and Instagram, like have you tried putting ads there? How do they compare to Facebook or?
Yeah, we haven't done anything on Instagram. Recently I run ads on Reddit and they work really well. Because you also can target to subreddits, to interests. It's pretty much the same.
You can target direct competitors there. That's what I was.
Yeah, I know.
wondering
It's the
about.
same what I do on Facebook. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's very effective. The thing is, like the messaging on Reddit has to be much shorter and it has to be more subtle, because Reddit is like, if you have an ad that's a little bit too aggressive. So I usually use that when we have sales, and then it's like, it's really short. It's like, save 50% on Everspace, just a headline. That's it. Link, and you're done. Whereas on Facebook, I always I want to make sure that whatever our ad is, there's some value in the information, like great screenshots or such. That's it. Online marketing, you all fine? You know all the stuff? Fine, good. Sure.
So like, as you mentioned that you're doing the giveaways, like occasionally for the streamers. What are your own baseline? You mentioned 1 key per day, but how many followers do you think it's worth? Like, I don't know, if streamer doesn't have a lot of followers, it might be not worth giving away. So what's your baseline?
So if a streamer has less than 1,000 followers, it's hard to justify the media value. Then the question is, can you make more? Can you use that? That's what we did with this one guy in Canada. He has like only 1,000 followers. I'd say somebody has like 10,000, 20, 30,000. Absolutely, give him a key per day. If it's somebody with like on Twitch, somebody with like 100,000 or more, a key per hour or every half hour. But because there's also, now I know how expensive this is. Back then I had no clue, so I gave them a key a day. Now I would give them more. It's difficult. We tried a couple sponsored Let's Plays on YouTube as well, like 20 or 30. Some were pretty good. Most of them were okay. And I feel like they really had best intentions explaining the game in the right way. But it's like Everspace is it's challenging, and if you don't understand the mechanics, or like if you're still learning the ropes, it's kind of hard. What we do now right now, so this is, we still have like 1 or 2 minutes left. 1 minute, okay. That's something I can highly encourage. Steaming to your Steam store page. So broadcasting, it's called. So the difference is you can have now a broadcast on your Steam store page, and you can use the traffic while you're being featured, because if Steam features you because of a sale, it's crazy how many traffic on your store page lands. If you want to have the same kind of amount of traffic on your store page, you have to pay a couple $100,000 in marketing value. If you're like you feature on the front page, and then you get like a couple $100,000 people come to your store page. So, and then you have this a huge amount of people watching the store page, and then you can have a stream up there. And of course you want to have somebody who's really good at the game, and usually those are not the variety streamers, because they play all sorts of games. They're not very good at your game, and you don't need the reach because Steam brings all this traffic, which is why you want to make sure that you have a couple streamers who are just very, very good at your game, and you pay them by the hour. So instead of like a CPM model, like cost per million views, which is the typical model for sponsored streams, you have your buddies. Sometimes, in our case, we were Kickstarter backers. So we have like 10 streamers that we have on a kind of regular schedule. If there's a stream, we organize that and make sure that we have these live broadcasts. And rough number, it can improve your conversion rate up to 50% if you do that. So it's cheaper marketing. You don't spend that much. Plus, it creates more sales. Very effective. There's an interview about this I gave with Games Industry Biz. That shares a little bit more detail about this, in case you're interested. Do it.
Okay, thank you,
done? Okay.
Michael, for this wonderful presentation. And I think I will try your game this event.
Okay.
No,
Appreciate
I will
it.
just
Thanks.
go home and will try it because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thanks, guys.